Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Vida and this is the weekly news roundup. Our top story this week. Prime Minister Hun Sen says keep politics out of Sunday noodle parties. Prime Minister Hun Sen dismisses offensive statement by Singaporean Prime Minister as untruthful. Foreign Affairs Minister reiterates the government stance on EBA during an EU meeting. Accused child killer faced life behind bars. Newly appointed Malaysian ambassador pledged to promote trade and investment. The Khmer Seal Center launches at Royal University of Phnom Penh. Let us begin with our top national stories. Prime Minister Hun Sen earlier this week said noodle parties to be held across the kingdom on Sunday will not serve grounds for political negotiation with former opposition party supporters. Last week, Mr. Hun Sen suggested that former opposition supporters eat noodles together with CPP officials in order to show solidarity. The invitation came after multiple former CNOP officials were questioned last month by the Battambang Provincial Court. They were questioned for allegedly violating a 2017 Supreme Court decision dissolving the CNOP during gathering at a noodle shop. Mr. Hun Sen during a graduation ceremony said no political negotiations would materialize between the CPP and the dissolved CNOP. He said that the noodle parties are meant to show solidarity and unity. Prime Minister Hun Sen has lashed out at Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong for referring to the liberations of Cambodia by Vietnamese troops as an invasion during a security summit in the island nation. In a condolences post on Facebook in the memories of the late former Thai Prime Minister Tan Solanonda, Mr. Lee said Vietnamese troops invaded Cambodia to topple the Khmer Rouge regime in 1979. He noted that his predecessor and then General Prim opposed the Vietnamese invasions of Cambodia and denied legitimacy of Heng Samrin's government in the 1980s. The statement prompted backlash from Mr. Hun Sen and his senior government officials. Mr. Hun Sen said that Lee's statement reflects Singapore's position then in support of the genocidal regime and the wish for its return to Cambodia. Mr. Hun Sen added that it's an act against the survival of the Cambodian people. Lee's statement also an insult to the sacrifice of the Vietnamese military volunteers who have to liberate Cambodia from the genocidal regime. His statement reveals to the Singaporean people and the world that the leader of Singapore had indeed contributed to the massacres of Cambodian people. Foreign Affairs Minister Prasakon earlier this week met with a visiting EU delegations and reiterated that the government will not exchange its sovereignty for access to the Everything But Arms trade scheme. In February, the European Commission launched a monitoring period which could lead to the suspension of the EBA trade scheme. According to the EU website, the move is in line with the EBA withdrawal process that was put into motion in October. It said that the move followed a fact-finding mission to Cambodia in July that allegedly found evidence of systematic violations of core human and labor rights. The EU expressed concerns over the dissolution of the former opposition CNOP and also called for treason charges against its former leader to be dropped. The government says the demand infringes on the kingdom's sovereignty. A fact-finding team sent by the EU to analyze whether Cambodia should lose its EBA trade status arrived in the kingdom on Monday. Foreign Affairs Ministry spokesman Kate Sopan said Mr. Khan's statement was made during a meeting with the EU delegation. Mr. Sopan said the minister noted that the government is concerned over the welfare and livelihoods of thousands of Cambodians who benefit from the EBA scheme, but it will not exchange sovereignty for EBA access. Prasayanu Provincial Court earlier this week charged Mieng Vichet, the man accused of murdering 2 children in the province, with murder accompanied by torture or rape, meaning he faced life behind bars if convicted. On May 29, the bodies of 10-year-old Pa Srelek and her 2-year-old brother Pa Sokli were found at their home in Prenop district, Batrang commute. Mr. Vichet has confessed to raping and killing the girl and killing her brother. He was arrested on Sunday. Deputy Prosecutor Lim Bon Heng this week said Mr. Vichit was charged with murder with aggravating circumstances and murder accompanied by torture, cruelty and rape in accordance with Article 202 and 505 of the Criminal Code. And on to our top business stories. The newly appointed Malaysian ambassador to Cambodia earlier this week pledged to promote trade and investment between the countries. He also pledged to boost shipments of Cambodian meal rice to Malaysia. Ambassador Alin Hussaini Mohammad Hashim made the pledge during a meeting with Prime Minister Hun Sen at the Peace Palace. Mr. Alin Hussaini quoted in a press conference posted on Mr. Hun Sen's Facebook page that as the new ambassador to Cambodia, he will focus on promoting investment from Malaysia to Cambodia. He said, quote, "We will promote bilateral trade, particularly rice export from Cambodia to Malaysia, as well as promote Malaysian investment in Cambodia with the aim of becoming the top investor." Mr. Hun Sen said both governments should work together to boost trade in accordance with ASEAN's principles and policies. The Khmer Seal Center and institutions dedicated to research in the seal industry and to revitalizing the whaling sector was launched earlier this week at the Royal University of Phnom Penh. The center, the first of its kind in the kingdom, started as an initiative of RUPP in 2017 and was built with contributions from the Japanese government and the United Nations Development Program. It aims to boost seal productions and conduct research. The center research activity will focus on seal worms and mulberry trees with the aim of producing healthy worms that will be distributed to whaling communities. Michael Yan, chairman of the board of trustees at RUPP and the main person behind the project, said research is important to improve the quality of Cambodian seal. This is all for this week. Join us again for another edition of the Weekly News Roundup. I'm Vida. Have a good weekend.